Hello viewers, in this video I will try to give you a little insight about an essay written by Edward Said, and the title of the essay is Traveling Theory. Uh, the material that I have used in this video is taken from or gathered from different internet sources. Okay, so I do not claim the originality as well as the authenticity of this video. That too, I do not want to take. Therefore, just take this video as your uh, secondary source of studying. Do not treat it as your preliminary study. For preliminary study, you must read the original text line by line, word by word, sentence by sentence, and then you must generate your own understanding, your own comprehension, and your own idea. That's it. Now let's read the words or the sentence of this video and uh, try to know what the author is trying to say. Traveling Theory, written by Edward Said. The essay Traveling Theory, it is written by Palestinian American professor of literature at Columbia University, and his full name is Edward Wadi Said. He was born in 1935 and died in 2003. Edward Said he is also a cultural critic, and he is known for his prominent work, that is Orientalism. It was published in 1978. This book is a critique of the cultural representation that are the basis of Orientalism, how the Western world perceived the Orient people. And Edward Said's model of textual analysis, it has transformed the academic discourse of researchers in literary theory, literary criticism, and Middle Eastern studies. Actually, it tries to limit how academics examine, describe, and define the cultures being studied. Clear? And as a foundational text, Orientalism, it was controversial among scholars of Oriental studies, philosophy, and literature. Said he became an established cultural critic with this book, Orientalism, which was published in 1978, I have already mentioned. And it was also a critique of Orientalism as the source of the false cultural representation with which the Western world perceived the Middle East and the narratives of how the West sees the East. So, if I speak in simple words, Orientalism is nothing but how the Western people think about the Eastern people and how they write about Eastern people and how the West uh, represent our the uh, culture, the philosophy, the society of the Eastern people. Clear? And the thesis of Orientalism, it also proposes the existence of a subtle and persistent Eurocentric prejudice against Arabo-Islamic peoples and their culture, which also originated from Western culture's long tradition of false romanticized images of Asia in general and the Middle East in particular. So, in another word, the West or the Western scholars or the Western people, through their literary writings, through their paintings, through their any works, whatever they have tried to portray about Eastern people or about Eastern civilization, those all things are, most of them, those are false notions or romanticized images of Asia in general. In reality, you will not get what they often try to portray through their work. For example, let's say West always, they always try to depict India as uh, an an underdeveloped country with lot of communal violence and lot of poverty, and then snake charming culture, and a country fill up with lots of temples. Okay, so those kind of stereotypes you will get in the literary works and in any works where Indian culture, Indian civilization, or Indian history is depicted. Okay, so in those works, you will get their common stereotypical things. Okay, so those things, through this work, Orientalism, the writer has tried to reject, he tried to discard those things. Okay, now let's try to know more about Orientalism. And such cultural representations have served and continue to serve as implicit justification for the colonial and imperial ambitions of the European powers and of the US. So, through their representation of Eastern nations, or of any country where Western culture is not adopted or practiced, they try to show that this country, this non-West country, this country does not accept what West tries to say. So, in that way, they try to say that since they do not accept what the Western people is saying or what the Western people are doing, that's why they are uncivilized, or that's why they are not like us in a developed in means they are not developed in a way we are developed. So that's a notion of Orientalism. Okay, and through that philosophy, through that thinking, they often try to impose their rule uh, in those Eastern countries. That you can see in many places right now too. Let's say uh, Afghanistan. Right now, though the US is gone, but before uh, that, let's say in 2001 and 2, they tried to rule Afghanistan, the US, in the name of uh, killing, or in the name of hunting terrorism. Okay, so that is also a small example of Western false false thinking, or their prejudice against Eastern people. Okay, I'm just saying my own opinion. I may be wrong. Okay, now let's move on. Likewise, Said denounced the political and the cultural malpractices of the regimes of the ruling Arab elites who have internalized the false and romanticized representation. So, in most of the cases, you will get that our Indian people, they also embrace this thinking that okay, the West is saying India is um, a place of poor, India is a place of slums, like that. We too often take it that yes, since they are saying it may be the truth, but now things are changing right now. But before that, you will get that. Let's take an example here. In most of the Hollywood movies, you will get India is depicted as something full of poverty, full of uh, violence and dirtiness, those things. There is also a stereotype. That is also a part of Orientalism. Okay. So, since this lecture is not based on that thing, so I will not talk about it in detail way. Let's move on. Uh, the reading Traveling Theory by Edward W. Said, it illustrates that like people traveling from place to place from all walks of art, so do ideas, cultures, and beliefs. So through this essay, Traveling Theory, the writer Edward W. Said he has tried to expound, he has tried to illustrate that just like human being, just like any people traveling from one place to another place, in the same way, likewise, ideas, cultures, beliefs, philosophy, these things, it too travels from one place to another place. Okay, that is a very common phenomenon. You must have seen, you must have experienced, right? Let's say some years ago, internet, not some years, some decades ago, internet was uh, a thing used by the West. But after some decades or after some years, it has reached in our own society. And so that is the thing the writer is trying to say. Okay. Means ideas, cultures, beliefs, it also travels like people. In ever-changing and rapidly growing world, Said brilliantly relates the idea of the traveling theory supported by his post-colonial studies and work such as Orientalism. For one to truly relate and understand the concept of traveling theory, one must first understand the manner in which one's own lives and the people and their possessions are treated and held at a certain degree of importance. In this essay, so since this essay, these lines I have taken from Google. So here it reads like this. In this essay, means the writer has tried to discuss the idea of traveling theory as an idea of the acts done to respect tradition. And traveling theory, it consists of four stages: the point of origin, distance, travel, conditions of acceptance and transformation. The concept of recognition, it will be defined as the acknowledgement of something or someone's existence. The point of origin for the concept of recognition is George Hegel's theory of self consciousness. Secondly, the distance travel for recognition is found in Jacques Lacan's concept of the eye and the gaze. Thirdly, conditions of acceptance are prominent in Karl Marx's theory of alienation. Finally, the transformation of recognition is established in Judith Butler's methodology on subjects of sex, gender, desire, and the manner in which people treat their possessions in comparisons of Arabic culture that were created by Anglo-American Orientalists. So, whatever I have read right now, these all are said in the essay Traveling Theory. So I will not going to further discuss it. Uh, if you read the line, you will get the meaning. So you can note it down if you wish. Let's move on. The term traveling theory, it first appeared in the titles of Edward Said's two essays in literary criticism, that is Traveling Theory 1983 A and Traveling Theory Reconsidered 1994 and 2000. In 2000, it might have been published, which use specific examples to consider how and what changes occur when theories move across space and time, that is, from one geographical and historical location to another. Influential in several disciplines, Said's theory of how theory travels has also been critiqued for not taking into account issues of translation and for failing to recognize that theoretical texts and ideas also travel across and through languages. So I don't think I have to explain here. The sentences are very simple. It is understandable, right? And these concerns were foregrounded in the work of Susan Sarajeva on the traveling of literary and feminist theory. A letter taken up by research that traces the various interlingual translations of single books or authors, or that focuses on the role that such translation has played in the way concept travel, as in the Genealogies of Knowledge project launched at the University of Manchester in 2016. In his 1982 essay on traveling theory, Edward Said had argued that the transfer of ideas in the humanities and the social sciences is influenced by both conditions of acceptance and resistance. Okay, so the writer is arguing here that the transfer of ideas in the context of humanities and the social sciences, it is often influenced by both conditions of acceptance and resistance. Means when a specific theory is transferred from one culture to another, from one society to another, from one continent to another continent, then you will see that in most of the cases, those things are not often easily or effortlessly accepted. You will see that though they will accept, they will get some kind of, they will impose some kind of condition, and you will also witness some kind of resistance. Means someone is revolting that no, we will not accept that culture or that idea. Okay, let's take an instance here. When computer was invented, and when the use of computer was in a very high pace, at that time people thought, and many people had predicted that one day computers would destroy the human labor. Means people will be out of work due to the computer system. But nowadays you can see that is not the case. At that time that thing was a resistance. But if you talk about another thing, let's say uh, YouTube, okay, YouTube shorts or short videos. Um, at the beginning of the YouTube app, at that time you might have seen long videos were very popular. Okay, but nowadays you will see short videos are most popular. Huh? So this difference, this is also a part of uh, conditions of acceptance and resistance. Clear? The journey of theories, he explains, is never unimpeded. Following this observation, the present study wishes to explore further the factors determining the itinerary of theories. It puts forward the thesis that the interdisciplinary reception of theory is a selective and historically variable process depending on the receiving discipline's dominant paradigm, which directs the researcher's attention to those aspects of the received theory that can best be adapted to their present purpose. In the process, individual concepts are isolated from their original context and reintegrated into a new theoretical and disciplinary environment. This point you can include in your exam. My example of this is the divergent use of Michael Foucault and Edward Said in the context of the respective linguistic and spatial terms. Firstly, as pioneers of discourse analysis, and secondly, as precursors of spatial thinking. As the current interest in Foucault and Said as explorers of imaginative geography shows, each turn emphasizes other concepts of a traveling theory, leading to a highly productive, though always partial, misreadings. Theories like timeless classics and even influential ideas go around circulating across time, geography, situations, and people. So, very simple thing is said here that if an idea is destined to spread, it will spread irrespective of geography, situation, and people, and society and civilization. So that's why it is traveling theory. This is the concern of Edward Said's traveling theory, which dealt with how theories go on in life and how they can be abused and misused. There are four stages of how a theory travels. Okay, this is very important. You must mention it in your argument, and that is point of origin, distance travel, a set of condition, and full partial accommodated incorporated idea. Clear? These are the four factors or four elements or ingredients. He cautions that a theory can misread by a reader almost all the time. Oh, how terrible if a theory can be so misunderstood by one audience as time goes on. He went on to mention Lucas' History and Class Consciousness and Lucien Goldman's Les Deux Cats as example. As Said has mentioned, to read a text theory in a local and detailed view on how theories travel is to betray some fundamental uncertainty concerning delimiting a field of which a taxi idea theory might have belonged to. One theory was somehow misread by one person and inspired another theory. Okay, so one very interesting and very significant thing is given here, and that is when a theory travels, at that time you will see that one theory was somehow misread by one person and it was inspired, or it had inspired another theory. It too happened, right? There are some examples of why Lucas's theory was so misread years, situations, and places later. First and foremost, Lucas had written his essay at the height of a struggle in Hungarian Soviet Republic in 1919. Goldman was a historian at the Sorbonne in Paris, France after World War II, at the time of publishing of his own essay in 1955. So here the writer is trying to uh, delineate that sometimes, though theory travels, though idea travels, but those ideas, those theories, those ideas, those are often misread, misunderstood by the people, and through that misreading, misunderstanding, a new genre of theory uh, is created or generated. So that thing he is trying to say here. Second, Lucas's class consciousness defies at the face of capitalism. Goldman's work, on the other hand, reflected the works of Pascal and Rakhine or Racine. Please verify it. So here he has given some examples that you can include. It should be known that a text theory is always static, fluid, and has mobility. Somehow along the way, the reader can get a theory, takes a wrong reading, something the author might get mad about. Right, it happens. You might have seen, you might have experienced that a writer has, let's say, a poet has written a poem, right? He has written that poem to represent or to depict or to display his perspective about poverty, his perspective or his remarks about life. But that is misunderstood by some people and they define that poem in their own terms. So that will also be a part of misunderstanding and misreading or misinterpreting. Okay, so it happens. Then what the poet will do? He will do nothing, he will get mad. It happens all the time. However, the author of this article will give her own opinion on this and how does distance can affect a theory. So since this thing I have taken from another essay, that's why here now we will get that author's thinking opinion. It's true that theories and ideas can't stay in one place in one time period for too long. Theories should go out to the rest of the world. They are there to reflect the author's opinion and ideas. Everyone should know that what was going on the life and situation of the author's time, and sometimes they can reflect on it and compare it to their current situation. However, they can get misread by others. Some take them literally, some just don't get the whole idea. For example, religious extremists sometimes take their holy scriptures too literally, to the point of actually harming the lives of so many people, even their own lives, as if they just don't care at all. Sounds tragic, isn't it? So let me give you an example here. Someone has read a religious text, a religious scripture. Now he has tried to explain that reading or his understanding. Now, in his speaking, he has said that the God has tried to say it like this: that the God has said this to human being. Okay, but in reality, God has not said like that. And whether God has said that to human or to any other being, that is still not clear. So that will also be a part of misinterpretation, and that can harm many people's life if that is misinterpreted. That can become detrimental. That thing the writer is trying to say here, that in most of the cases you will get that holy scriptures are misread. Okay, and people also use those holy scriptures to mold their own ideology, their own thinking. It is also happening. You can see this that thing. The idea is that one has to be careful when reading a text theory. All not track them too literally, nor think of it as a nuisance, nor even calling it blasphemous, nor lower its importance and relevance of its time as well as its relevance today. So you will also see that let's say someone has read a holy text, and after reading that holy text, he is saying that this holy text, it is futile, it is insignificant. If you say that thing, then it will also be a uh, problematic thing. Okay, because that may be the case for you, but maybe that same book is valid for some other people, right? That's why misreading, misinterpretation is very lethal. The author has no grudges towards the theory involved, but felt it needs to expound on how misreading can occur in one's mind and what are the full known effects on the reader and the text itself. Then again, it is one theory that this author does not have to worry so much. So that's it. I think you must have got a little insight, a very little insight about traveling theory. What is traveling theory? What are its parts? And how traveling theory can be in geopardy. So those things I have tried to discuss. I hope you are enlightened in some way, but do not treat this video as your preliminary source of study or reading. It can or it will hamper your reading and your examination. Hmm? Do not take this as face value. Read the text line by line. I'm repeating again, I'm reiterating it. You have to comprehend that thing. Okay? Do not accept any video, any note from any people. First, you read, try to make sense by your own way, and you can uh, then you can understand what or then you can judge whether this person is saying right or not. That's it. I'm sorry for my pronunciation since English is not my native language. It is my actually fifth language. That's why. But I'm trying to improve my pronunciation. Uh, but sometime it can happen that I may not have pronounced the way it should be pronounced, and I'm extremely sorry for that. Thank you so much. Bye bye.